What's going on, guys? Tyler from Unbound Athletic here, and we're going to go through how we teach the rope climb to our beginner members who are just looking at starting and trying to achieve their first repetition. We're going to cover off some guidelines based on your body weight and some of the prerequisites that you're going to require for being able to do a rope climb successfully, in our opinion. Then we're going to go through the equipment required, the techniques we use, and some skill development to help you get there. I'm going to go downstairs and we're going to run through it together in a bit more of a walkthrough style, and then hopefully from there you can take this information away and get your first rope climb. If you are looking at building some more upper body strength, we do have a free pull-up program in the link in the description. It's an 8-week pull-up program that will help boost your numbers and get you to where you need to go for your upper body strength, whether it's for the rope climb, the toe to bar, the bar muscle up, or just getting better at pull-ups in general. Check it out. Links in the description. Otherwise, let's crack into the video. So first things first, body weight is very important when it comes to rope climbing. Rope climbing is a movement that is based on your body weight. The lighter you are, the easier it is to ascend the rope. Just like the heavier you are, the harder it is to be able to make that climb. Vice versa, height in general is going to make things a little bit easier. If you're a tall athlete and you jump onto the rope, likely chances is that your vertical jump is higher than mine, who's quite short, so you'll be able to clear the rope a little bit quicker than its shorter counterpart. But body weight is super important when it comes to being able to ascend and descend the rope. The lighter we are, the easier it is. So that's why the prerequisites change based on your body weight. Now, if you're someone who is less than 60 kilos, most times out of 10, you only require at least a 20-second rig hang and a couple of kipping pull-ups under your belt to be able to perform a rope climb to its fullest extent, which is the 15-foot marker. That being said, each of us can be a little bit different. Maybe you require slightly more strength depending on your ability level, and you can utilize some of these other guidelines if even though you have those prerequisites, you still can't physically get one. But I find the lighter athletes don't really need too much strength. They just need their body weight and an understanding for the technique, and they're able to normally achieve a rope climb pretty easily. From there, we're looking at a moderate body weight person, someone who sits between 60 and 90 kilos body weight. You guys will require 30 seconds of rig hanging, between 3 and 5 kipping pull-ups, or 1 chin-up if you are closer to 90 kilos. So why I recommend a chin-up, bicep strength is super important when it comes to ropes. We hold this weird, awkward neutral grip, which is very bicep dominant. The lats get taken out of it quite a lot unless you are reaching high into that movement. Because the elbows are bent, the biceps are used. So having strong biceps not only will protect them as we develop our rope climbs and we look at going for more repetitions, but it will give us enough strength to be able to hold onto the rope adequately. So that's a chin up with body weight. So no banded assistance or no machine assistance required. That's if you are closer to 90, you might be able to get away with that 3 to 5 range and the 30-second hold if you're closer to that 75, 60 kilo range, but that's just a recommendation. Finally, heavy athletes over 90 kilos will require a 40-second rig hang, between 5 and 8 kipping pull-ups, or 1 to 3 chin-ups. So a lot higher recommendation for the bigger athletes, just because you carry more weight, it's going to be harder. I'm not being discriminatory. It just is what it is. So you guys have to have a little bit more strength requirements. Doesn't mean it's not possible to perform with a lower strength requirement. You might have stronger grip strength. You might be a little bit more dynamic on the rope, or you might just be tall as hell. It makes things a little bit easier. But just those are the base strength requirements required that I recommend for those athletes at those weight ranges to get you your first rope climb. Now, equipment needed. You don't actually need any equipment to rope climb. However, these are just some recommendations to make sure you don't lose all the skin on your shin, and as well as you ascend and descend the rope without slipping. Chalk, obvious, need chalk. Grip on your hands makes things a little bit easier. Either long socks or knee sleeves. I definitely recommend knee sleeves over long socks if possible, as the protection, the layer of protection. Make sure that your shin doesn't get rope burn on the way up and on the way down. But long socks does do the tricks. Even a couple of layers of socks can be useful, but don't be cheap. Just get the knee sleeve. It's like $30 to $50 depending where you live, and it will save you tons of pain in the future, as well as that weird festy infection that you'll see on people's legs. From there, techniques we're going to utilize today is either the J hook or the Y hook. I'll run through the differences in just a moment, as well as the J hook descend. We're not worried too much about athletical descends, like you'll see the fireman's descend, where people chuck their legs out and then just L-sit drop down all the way to the ground, or people will let go and then grab onto the rope. We're not looking for that. We're looking for beginner ways to get down, safety, and a technique that's going to allow us to do it with the least amount of stress possible. Finally, we're going to go through some skill developments. The movements we're going to touch on today are the rig hang foot technique, which is going to be a ideal movement for those who are looking at working foot technique and positioning without stressing your grip by holding that rope position. Then we're going to go from the box start and work on the rope climb from there. We're going to go from a standing start, looking at utilizing the tippy toes of our non-working leg and the height of the working leg to try and achieve as much rope as possible, finishing with some jumping rope climb starts, and that's just a bit more confidence-based. But let's go downstairs, let's run through some of our techniques and run through the skill development for each of our movements. Alrighty, now we're downstairs, we're going to talk about our rope climb foot positions and some of the positions that we can maintain on the rope itself. This is what we would call our rig hang rope climb variation, where we've got a short rope tied around the rig. We can utilize the rig itself to help with positioning of our feet and our hands and make sure that we are working on the foot position under a tiny bit of duress from the forearms, but not so much that it imitates that rope climb position that people struggle at. This would be where I start a new athlete if they are looking at working on either the technique for the rope or even just a lower skill variation while they're still trying to develop their strength work. Let's cover off the two main foot techniques, the J and the Y hook. Both very similar. The Y hook comes first because it's a bit easier, but it's a bit less strong. This versus a bit less strong. I don't even know if that's a real word. It's less strong compared to our J hook counterpart, but it is a little bit quicker to get in and out of. How it looks. Start with our hands on the rope. We have our leading leg. We bring that leg up as high as we can in all of our movements. The higher the leg comes, the less the arms have to climb. From there, once we release the grip, the Y hook, we bring the rope out, and then we're just jamming the feet together and then standing. If you're able to stand, it means that your grip is adequate. Your grip is adequate on those feet to be able to then ascend the rope. If you slip and fall, it just means that we have not gained enough grip on the rope, and that we need to readjust our position for the next rep. Pro tip, with the rope itself, we want to grab as little of the rope as possible to wrap it onto our foot. The more rope we grab, the harder it's going to be to wrap that loose piece of rope and stand on it. And when we do stand on it, it's going to require more force from our legs than it is if we just grab a smaller amount of rope, which is going to have more of a tighter tension path to the rope itself. So remember, the pro tip, less rope is actually better with the feet. The J hook is just a continuation of the Y hook, where when we bring the rope up and then we jam it in, instead we're looking at covering it on top of our foot and then basically squeezing our feet together like a reverse V, almost like a pair of scissors closing. How it looks, same thing. We are holding onto the rig, we're nice and tall on our foot, we get that leg as high as possible. The rope is on the inside of the leg, so on the shin. From there we lift the leg, we bring the foot as close and as tight as possible, and we wrap it on top and then clamp it together like a pair of reverse scissors, and then we stand, coming back down and then releasing. Easy as that. Rope recovery is very simple. It utilizes either the J or Y hook, but preferably the J hook on the rope. What we're looking at doing is loosening the rope as we come down. We want to kind of do the opposite motion. Instead of having more rope, we want to have less rope and then look at straightening the legs and then locking out, and it look like such. So we grab our position, once again, shin on the inside, we grip our rope in together, we create that Y hook, we stand, then we're going to straighten the legs, loosen the feet, and it's going to allow us to slide out. Obviously, with the hands, we're not looking at also sliding down with our hands either. With our hands, what we're looking at doing is going overhand on the way down, so it's going to safely allow our hands to travel down the rope without creating too much rope burn. All right, team, we're going to move on to the box start rope climb. The real big benefit of the box start rope climb is it takes away the stress of the upper body dead hanging on the rope while you're trying to mess around with the feet. Time and time again, as a coach, what I see more often than not is people panicking when they get to that first rope climb. They'll grab onto the rope, they'll be messing around with their feet, they have no idea what they're doing, and they won't be able to get the position they can because now they're combining two elements together, holding on for dear life and then trying to establish a foothold on the rope. The box start rope climb takes away all of the stress of hanging from the rope for dear life, but then allows us to focus on the footwork position while still utilizing that mixed grip that the rope requires. Remember, it works the same. We're going to have the rope in the center of the shin, leg as high as possible. We're going to get nice and tight, make sure the foot stays close to the rope, whether we Y hook and clamp together or we J hook and come on top, your choice. Get as high as you can on the rope, and then you should be able to stand. Simple. Let's move on to our next movement, which is the standing rope climb. We're going to commence to the standing rope climb. This will be a more challenging variation, and this is where we first start to ascend the rope to that next phase. The big key points of the standing rope climb are, we're going to grab the rope as high as possible. This will take some of the stress off the biceps and apply it to our lats, so that we, kind of like the rig hang, we are focusing on allowing the lats to take the dead hang and not our biceps, which are far weaker. So hands as high as we can. We then position the leg as high as possible. From this point, I'm on my absolute tippy toes with that bottom leg. As soon as I release off the floor, I make sure I release slowly so I don't swing. I establish that foothold. I stand, bring the hands up by 2, and now I'm into my second bite. From there, I'm ascending by bringing the knees into the chest and getting my foot position as high as possible. That way I don't have to climb as much with our hands. Now I'm probably off screen at this point. This is where I'm focusing on straightening the legs and then going overhand on the way down to that loose position to finish the rope climb. Our last variation of the rope climb is the jumping rope climb. The jumping rope climb is exactly the same as all of our other movements, but the main point is it requires a split-second decision to be able to begin the rope climb. You're now no longer relying on standing on your feet. You can't position that leg into the correct spot, and you won't have your hands ready on the rope to go for that first repetition. This is what I would recommend after you are thoroughly practiced on our standing rope climb, and you have the ability to, at a moment's notice, engage those legs into the correct J or Y hook positions and stand. From this one, you will stand back 2 to 3 steps from the rope, and it's as easy as it sounds. We're going to run in and jump. The great benefit of this is it takes off almost the first half, if not 3/4 of the rope. And for someone like myself who is about 170 centimeters or 5'6", I'm able to achieve a 15-foot rope climb off a jumping start in just 2 climbs. Let's see how it looks. 2 steps back, we run into it. We're making sure that we're getting our hands up as high as possible. Once again, straight arms to make sure that the lats take the load and not the bicep. And then I'm bringing my knee into my chest to establish that foothold on the rope, standing as high as possible, and then rinse and repeating. Let's have a look. There you have it, graceful landing. That is the basics of how we teach the rope climb here at Unbound Athletic. If you're worried about your pull-up strength and you still need somewhere to start to develop that pull-up strength, in the link in the description, please check out our free 8-week pull-up program to help boost or level up your pull-up to an ability level that will allow us to cover the ropes. If you want some recommendations, start with the low rope. Start with the rope on the rig, focus on foot position. Once you've achieved that, move to the box where it's a little bit more comfortable, then move to that foot position on the box. Once again, after that, the standing start, focusing on as slow as possible, transitioning the feet and standing on the rope. Finally, the jumping rope climb will increase your efficiency and allow us to improve that movement. Equipment needed, chalk and knee sleeve is a must to make sure that there's no shin tears at all and we're not struggling with a bit of discomfort. But other than that, if you're looking for more assistance or more technical help, check out our website. We have some online coaching that can help you guys out, improve all of your skills in CrossFit, as well as strength, conditioning, and gymnastics. Cool. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next Unbound Athletic tutorial.